Luckily, most of you already have your single sword. You don't need anything else for this. Okay. Now, if I could get... Can I get all the instructors over here? Excuse me. Okay. I'm sure there'll be some, there's instructors that are not here that I wish were here. Mo! I know it's hard to be beautiful, but get over here. Okay. All right, so first thing I'd like to do is I'm going to start on the left here, and I want you guys to go through, say your name nice and loud, and where you're from. Say your kingdom or region, I don't really care. And go through, just so the students can know who's through.
I'm Ferrix. I use they, them pronouns. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, Kingdom of Caldecor.
Locktar, Oregon. Hollister, Ohio, Kingdom of Rising Winds. DeVry from the Northern Lights. Hi.
Hi.
Gus, Clarence Mountains.
Tanith, they, them, St. Louis, Missouri. Shadow, Wetlands. Xander, Golden Plains. Glenn, Wetlands, he, him.
Big Head, St. Louis again.
Fikes, Kingdom of Crystal Groves.
Rock, Kingdom of Crystal Groves.
Guy, Kingdom of Crystal Groves.
Nib, Kingdom of Crystal Groves.
I'm sensing a pattern.
My name's Paulo, Rising Winds. Dom, ES. Nightline.
Manson, Desert Winds.
Radius, Blackspire.
Raphael, Northern Lights.
Morpheus.
I'm Peter, I'm also from Polaris.
All of our other plans. There's time.
Lily's over there, he's Rising Wind. None of them really matter too much. Polaris. Anyway, where is he? Okay, all right, so foundations. We're going to need to spread out. You don't have to do it immediately, but I'm going to talk through a few things and then we can spread out. All right, the point of this class is so that we can all build a common language in which we can communicate throughout the weekend. Okay? I'm going to go through a couple terms, and my objective is for you to understand those terms. It's not for somebody to tell me that your terms are different. All right? Yeah?
Yeah.
It's okay, the terms are different. That's fine. Introduce yourself. Where are you from?
Shepherd, Polaris.
Yeah. Fine, Dave.
Hi. Are we doing the introduction thing?
Yeah, go.
My name's Jamie, or Death Lily Megatron Sunshine. I'm from the Kingdom of Polaris in Minnesota, Wisconsin.
I'm Rourke, also Rourke, and I'm from California, so West March.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, so foundations, first thing we're going to do, just like any sort of structure, is we're going to work from the ground up. Okay? So I'm going to talk to you about how you move your feet, and how you actually move your body when that happens. Okay. Now, the first thing that you need to understand in order to really go over what's happening when you move, okay? When you take a step, you're pushing off of one foot to the other, off of something really big. Ground, the earth, right? You're pushing off of this to step here, you're pushing off this to step here. In order to do that, you have to have your weight over whatever you're stepping, whatever is on the ground. There's such a thing as gravity. If you have your feet out from underneath you, you're gonna fall down, right? The other thing to understand is that when you move, your legs are only so long, right? So if my feet are farther apart and I take a step, I'm moving my core. You understand this? This is my core. This is what I'm trying to move. I'm not trying to move my feet to new locations. Okay? So when I move my core, my feet are further apart, right? I'm only moving it this far. My feet are together. Right? Okay? Alright, now everyone spread out and get into kind of a fighting stance for me. You guys move around. Hi, introduce yourself real quick.
I'm Tiberius from Crypto Circle, Polaris.
Great. Alright, now, everyone get in a fighting stance as if you were getting ready to fight. Okay? Alright, now, when you move your feet, or rather, let's back up a little bit. There's two ways to do this when you're fighting single sword. You can fight sword foot forward, or off foot forward, or funny foot forward, some people call it, right? They both have their pros and cons, some more pros than cons, right? So right now we're gonna focus on sword foot forward. All right, now when you're looking at your feet, keep in mind what I just covered. The further your feet are apart, the less movement you have. Right? The less you can move your core to one location or another. So if your feet are close together, you can step really, further. Right? However, you don't have quite as good a balance when you're on one little spot. Right? It's much easier to control where your weight goes if your legs are spread out a little bit. Generally, that spread is going to be about the width of your shoulders. And everyone's center of gravity is a little bit different, so do what's comfortable for you, but as you move through it, think about how far your feet are apart, or rather how far the heels of your feet are apart. All right? Now, when you take a step forward, you're going to take a step forward with your forward foot, and you're going to bring your back foot with you. Right? When you take a step backwards, you're going to step back with the left foot or the back foot, and you're going to bring the forward foot with you. Okay? Right? As a standard. Now, you can do a cross-footed step where you bring one foot past the other and step this way. All right? There's a pro and con to it, and we'll cover it. But that's one way to step if you're stepping forward. The other way to step, if you're stepping backwards, is you do a cross-footed steps. Right? All right, these do different things. When you step forward with the same side, your shoulders stay where they are. Your hips stay where they are. Your core actually travels the furthest. Right? If I do a cross-footed step, right, my core moves very little, and my shoulders change orientation, so do my hips. Okay? Right? Sometimes those things can be useful. Sometimes they're not useful. The key is understanding, and then you can figure out where they will be useful. Right? For instance, right, if my goal is to get him to come in really close to me, and every time, if I can't quite get to him, and he is doing a very good job of closing on me, or almost closing on me, and I want to convince him to get a little bit closer so that I can close on him, maybe I start funny foot forward and I do a cross-footed step. He then perceives this, that I stepped further away from him, and he comes forward a little bit. Now, I'm within some sort of different manipulation range, right? As an example, right? Make sense? Okay, when I'm stepping to my right or my left, if I'm going to step to my right, I'm going to step with my right foot and bring my left foot with me. Right? If I step to my left, I'm going to step with my left foot and bring my right foot with me. Okay? So now, you're all going to grumble, but bear with me. If you wanted to, you could step with your left foot, right, and bring it past. Or versus, you could step in front, right? And now, just like what we just talked about, that's going to change things. If I step to my right with my right foot, my hips stay in line and my shoulders stay where they were, right? And my core travels the furthest. If I step here, if I step past, my core actually stays in the same spot and my hips and my shoulders turn, right? Make sense? Versus if I'm going this way, my hips stay in line, my shoulders stay in line. If I step across, right, my hips are turned, my shoulders are turned. If I step behind, again, my hips change, my shoulders change, right? Again, this is about understanding, okay? Now, from this point, if you want to take multiple steps in a row, the easiest way to do this is when your hips and your shoulders stay in line. If you do this and then try to step forward, it's very difficult, right? Or if I do this and try to step forward, I have to change my hips to go this way. If I wanted to go this way, it'd be easy, right? Your hips are gonna point where you go. The next thing we want to discuss, when you take a step, any way you want to go, forwards, backwards, left, right, if you have your feet like this, in order for me to step to my right, I have to put my weight on my left foot and then step. Okay? I'll try to do that. Spread your legs out. All right, everyone understand this. And now try to take a step to your right. Well, you're hopping. If both your feet are off the ground, you cannot change direction. We'll cover this. Okay? So, you can do a falling step, right? But now my feet are further apart, and this foot still has to stay on the ground. Okay? Conversely, if my feet are close together, or shoulder width apart rather, and I want to step to my right, you have to put that weight on that foot, and then you can step, right? So your core has to subtly change. If your foot is underneath you, you can pick this foot up immediately, right? You feel that? Right? My hips are over the foot on the ground. I can move this foot immediately, right? So, all right, so how do we use that? Well, if you want to move forward, maybe your stance is more like this, because now I can pick up this foot and take a direct step forward. If I want to be ready to move backwards, you know, maybe my hips are a little further forward, so I can pick up this back foot immediately. Right? Make sense? Any questions? Now, the shuffle step, the gliding step, where you're basically lifting up a foot and falling and pushing off. Right? Now, come here. If he does that step towards me, take it full, like a jumping step towards me like that, and I step here, now leave your feet there and try to turn towards me. Yeah, right? That's very difficult to do, right? You see that? Try it. Have your feet here and turn. That is the hardest way to turn, right? Now, do the same thing except step and bring this foot with you. Right? Now, doing that, his feet remain on the ground. So if I step here, it's much easier for him to pivot and turn. Instead of landing and planting, now your weight is on this foot, you can't turn. If your weight is spread between your feet, you can turn. Right? However, you cover more distance doing that jumping step. Right? Right? So it's a tool. The pro and con of the tool. All right, any questions? Right? Are you all like already numb? Was that too much? Okay. Now, so now we've built this up, right? Now we know how to walk around. Soon we can chew gum at the same time, or even maybe feed ourselves. Right? Now, there's a couple basic motions, a couple basic swings I want to cover with this. Well, all right, I can digress. All right, so how you want your feet when you're fighting, right? So we know how to move. We understand how to move our feet. Thank you. Now, everyone's feet are going to be what's comfortable to you. There is no right or wrong with how you put your feet. Some people love having their feet super far apart. It's not my best, it's not what I do, but that's fine. If that's what you want to do, you do you. Right? But keep in mind all those parameters that we just put together. The further your feet are apart, the harder it is to move your core. Right? The closer your feet are together, the further you can move your core, but the less stable you are and the harder it is to kind of change direction. Right? Make sense? So you want some kind of mixture in between. Typically, I have my forward foot. You always want your forward foot pointed at your opponent. Whatever foot you have forward, all right? It doesn't matter. All right, come here again. If you point your foot at somebody, all right, so here I can hit him, Now I turn my foot away, I can't hit him anymore. Almost. Right? Put my foot at him, I can hit him. Okay, you're gonna gain a little bit of distance. Everything's in line for that to go. Point your foot at your opponent. No reason to do this, no reason to do this, unless your knee's twisted, right? Point your toe at your opponent. Thank you. All right, so I point my toe at my opponent. My back foot is some mixture between, if I draw a bunch of lines coming out from my foot, perpendicular to my forward foot, my back foot is somewhere in between my heel and my instep. All right? And my heels are roughly shoulder width apart. Now let's experiment a little bit. If your feet are in a line and your stance is very linear, right? Go to a linear stance. Everybody go to a linear stance. All right? Point your toe at me. Everyone point your toe at me like you're fighting me. All right, now you got a linear stance. Now take a step backwards with the same foot, please. Thank you. Right? That's relatively easy, right? It's easy to do. It's easy to move that way. Now go forwards. All right, now take a step to your right with your right foot. All right, that's actually kind of hard, right? You have to like recenter your weight and then move. All right, now go back to your linear stance. And now take a step to your left, right? If you're right-handed, that's a little bit easier because your weight's already kind of on your forward foot. But all the same, there's still a tiny bit of delay, right? Now bring your feet parallel to each other, okay? Now take a step to your right. That's really easy. Take a step to your left. Also very easy. Right? Now step forward. Right, you do that kind of like a waddle. You gotta like move your weight onto that foot and then you can go forward. Right? Now go backwards. Same sort of thing, right? All right, so the key is some mixture, some balance of somewhere in between. Find that happy spot for you. You know, if it takes you just kind of dancing around your living room at home to figure that out, then do it. All right? Figure out, all right, you know, and this can change depending on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to move linearly, you're going to want more of a linear stance. You're fighting somebody that runs away and goes like this all the time. Maybe you want a linear stance so you can jump on top of it. Right? If you're fighting somebody if they jump on top of you, maybe you want a really parallel stance so you can step to the side really. Right? All right, but like I said, there is no right or wrong. You need to find what works for you. Generally, it's somewhere in the middle. You know, if I want to be a little bit more mobile left and right, my foot comes with feet a little bit further forward. If I want to be able to go a little bit further forwards or backwards, my feet get a little more linear. Right? And it's not a big difference for me. What is that, like 4 inches? 3 inches? Right? Does that make sense? Any questions? No? Okay. Now, swinging a sword, right? There are your basic swings, right? The most basic there is a chop. A chop is a vertical swing, right? There's a lot of arm actuation. This, depending on how you throw it, generally when I throw it, it's more of a weight distribution change. When you swing, you are pushing off with your feet off of the ground to create momentum that moves through your body to create a swing. Now, if all of you keep your feet still and lock your knees and swing your sword. See how that feels in your arms? See how that feels in your back? If you did this for a long time, your shoulder and back would get tired, right? Now, bear with me. Now, if you do that same swing and bend your knees, and when you swing, you kind of stand up a little bit, right? You're pushing off of the earth. How much more relaxed your shoulder is, how much more relaxed your back is, right? If you do it to the extreme, I'll do it very slowly. The force is coming from your feet to your knees, to your hips, up your chest, to your shoulders, and out your arm. So it's almost like a rippling up and out. right? So I'm pushing, and it comes out. Sure. Now notice the difference. If I'm just arm, and I can swing a mean stick. If I'm doing it with my body, it's a much more powerful attack. It comes up and out, up and out. It can also come from one foot to the other, pushing your weight one way or the other, right? So from the back foot to the front foot and out, right? What this also allows me to do is, if you look where my hand does not have to come back here to generate power. My hand can stay where it is. You turn, right? Right? In relation to my shoulder, my hand does not really change much. There's minor corrections in targeting, right? Right? That is a chop. This is a chop. Horizontal is a slash. And there's no wheels here to well, Mo's here. Where are you, Mo? He's somewhere. Or what they like to call the long slash, right? It's an inside joke. All right, so your slash, right? Your slash is anything horizontal. Now the mechanic of this is a little different. This is more of a change from one foot to the other. If you lock your knees, right, and do this, feel how that feels in your arm, feel that feels in your back, right? Now, if you take your arm and you leave your hand where it is, and you you bring your weight from this foot to this foot as you do it, right? You can do that all day long, right? Feel the difference? Any questions? All right, chop, slash, chop, slash. Yep. Okay. All right. Now your wrap shots. A wrap shot is any of those things. The mechanic's not going to change too terribly much. However, what a wrap shot means is you're circumventing a plane with your sword. Now, like, oh, great. That's some great terms. Let's break that down. In this case, his sword is going to be a plane, right? In order to go around this, my sword has to come around it, right? Now what this means is that the tip of my sword is gonna, instead of being in line with my shoulder, it's gonna come out away from my shoulder in some way to create a void for whatever is blocking me to go around it. Right? Does that make sense to everybody? Right? So any wrap shot is anything that creates that V between your wrist, your shoulder, and the tip of your sword. The throat of the V being where your hand joins the sword. Right? Right? Okay? So, anytime you're circumventing this, right, there's lots of different terms of wraps. You can throw a thumb lead wrap like that, right, where you're coming from the back of your hand to come around. You can throw a flat wrap where you're taking your hand where, this is the one that Frank and I have spent countless hours trying to show people how to do it. A flat wrap, the only difference is, instead of bringing your hand all the way around, all you're doing is your hand is going from being perpendicular to the ground, your elbow pointing down, to your elbow pointing out, and your hand, the palm of your hand now being parallel with the ground. Right? Right? It's this motion. Right? Like we're all gladiators telling somebody to die or not. Okay? Make sense? Right? Any questions? Now, what's the difference, you say? With a wrap, with a direct shot, either my chop or my slash, right? The tip of my sword is in line so it can reach the furthest from my shoulder. Has the highest range, right? A wrap shot, I'm bringing that range back to create depth in the shot, to create the wrap. So the range is not going to be there. Right? That makes sense? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, your wrap can be, this way, it can be this way, it doesn't matter. It's what creates this. This is the wrap. How you get your hand there is just how you get your hand there. Now there is a mechanic. If you want to throw...
Peter, can you turn yourself so we can see that over here?
Yeah. All right, so, right, I'm creating the wrap, right? Is this what you mean, this angle?
Yeah, that's good.
Right? For here, where I've created the angle. Right? Now, I see a lot, everyone wants to throw this shot, all right? Like where you're going like this to hit people, all right? Stop. Throwing this like a flat wrap is gonna hurt your elbow, and it's gonna really puts a lot of strain on these connecting muscles and your hand, all right? Now to throw this shot is a chop where you turn your hand, right? So I'm throwing a chop, I turn my hand, I create that wrap, okay? So you're throwing a chop and you turn your hand, that's it, that's all it is, okay? I'm not trying to reach around and hit him here, right?
You're still using your elbow to create that rotation.
I'm rotating, right? Yeah. All I'm doing is chopping with a rotation. Right? So it goes here and here. Just think you're gonna hurt your elbow. Okay? It's a chop where you turn your hand. Same with a flat wrap. A flat wrap is a chop where you turn your hand. Right? Chop where you turn your hand. Okay? Right? Now, you know, this can go to either side of his hand, right? Like, depending on where my elbow is, relation to my shoulder is going to change from where the target location is. If I'm coming underneath with like the money shot, right? I'm not doing this to get there. All I'm doing is circumventing this. So my wrap is here. It's not here. See that?
Can you do that again?
Right? The money shot. Everyone's trying to circumvent this plane here. This is what they think they need to do, when really they need to circumvent this.
The bottom of the V.
Bottom, right? So this is the wrap here. Right? All this is the chop. I hit them all day. Right underneath. Every day, all day. Right? Alright? Alright, so that's your wrap. Your reverse wrap is where you go the opposite direction, right? This is flat, this is reverse where your palm is up. Flat, reverse. Right? It's not a unless you're trying to circumvent them here, right? Look where your V is. Right? Yep. I know you guys everyone's gonna be doing this all weekend, I know. I know. You're like, what the fuck did he just do? Sorry my language. What on earth did he just do? Right? Okay? Now, as you experiment with it, take your time. If you start to feel that bothering your elbow, be like, come find me and be like, Peter, man, this hurts. Be like, all right, well, let's look how you're doing. All right? Or talk to some of these other guys. They all know how to do it. All right? Okay. So those are your wraps. Okay? Now the next thing you've got is a stab. Okay. You've got two types of stabs. And funny enough, it's the same premise as our strikes. You've got a straight stab where your sword is in line with your shoulder. All right? Now, come here. You. Yeah, you. Blue boy. All right, now do that again. Do that same motion again, okay? This is what we want to avoid. Sorry. This is what we want to avoid. Do it again. He's stabbing. He's stabbing with his arm. A straight stab is done with your feet, where your hand directs it. All right? If you are trying to stab somebody like this, it's very slow. If you're trying to stab somebody like this, it's very quick. and it comes in with the weight of your body. So you can really gunch somebody into next week. Okay? Everyone likes to be gunched. All right? So a straight stab is where the point of your sword is in line with your arm. When you stab, you do not want full arm extension. You want to have a slight bend in your elbow so that when that strike happens, there's some give. If you're like this and that strike happens, you know what gives? The joint and your shoulder. Okay? And it's not good for you. All right? Now, the other type of stab is what we call a hook stab, where we create a wrap, but instead of striking, we are poking somebody. We're circumventing a plane, right? I've circumvented the plane with, see how my hand is? That's what we just spoke about with a wrap. Right? Right? And again, a stab is done with your what? Feet. Your feet. I'm not stabbing at them like this. I stab them like this. Right? My hand, how I direct it with my hand makes it look like maybe that I'm doing this, or how I kind of turn with it, but it's done with a step. Okay? Right? Make sense? Again, slight bend in the elbow, please. Okay? Any questions on stabs? No?
Well, we got a question.
I got a question going back to wraps.
Yeah.
You're talking about steps for like everything else. Is there any like kind of transfer of weight that should be done for wraps?
It's the exact same motion as your chop or your slap. Right? You're gonna be pushing off the ground to create that motion. The only difference is instead of your hand being here at the end, your hand is gonna be here at the end. Right?
Quick question about the flat wrap you did inside before.
Yeah.
Was that, did you end with pronation or supination?
Depends. I don't know what shot you're talking about.
Oh, sorry, I just meant like, I think you were demonstrating a flat wrap that landed on the inside of the bar. Like it's something like, normally you would do like an outside, right? Like this. I thought maybe I misunderstood that you were doing a flat wrap that went on the inside.
Okay, so that's a good question, and I teach this quite a bit. But your wrap, there's two things to consider with every single shot. I'm kind of breaking into some theory here because of that question. There's two things to consider: where your shoulder is, and where the tip of your three things: where your shoulder is, where the tip of your sword is, and where your hand is at the execution of a shot. If my shoulder's outside his weapon, this is the easiest thing for me to hit. My hand is coming out, right? It's out and around. This changes what I need to do the next step. So sometimes what happens is I will change. So I've created the V, right? And I've come on the inside. But what's the main difference here is that now my hand is already in the way of his sword, right? That's basically what you're asking, right? So I've created a flat wrap. I'm just doing it with my shoulder high and my elbow changed direction here. So it's more of like a slash that I turn into a flat wrap. Right? Makes sense? Some people call that a high cross. That's all it is. Yeah?
Throwing a shot and blocking at the same time.
All right, so
Definitely theory.
now with your stabs, any other questions on the wraps and the stabs? All right, last thing I want to cover is your guards. All right, we've got 4 guards. You have an open guard, or some people call relaxed guard, where you are comfortable. Go mingle. You are comfortable. Your weapon is down. You are a safe distance away from somebody. Right, where you're in a comfortable position to move. Right, you're on your toes a little bit. You can move however you need to move. You're inviting them in, right? I look inviting.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I live in the sword again.
Right? That's an open guard. A ranging guard is where I go from being here to here. Okay? It's in your face. That's not very comfortable, is it? Right? So if the two of us are fighting and she is clobbering me because she keeps getting so close to me, I'm going to change to a ranging guard, where if she has to step towards me, this thing is right in her business already. Not so much in her face, but you get the point, right? Ranging guard, right? Now you go from here to here, right? You project your sword into their space. All right, this is about perception. When somebody perceives you closer, it makes them less motivated to get closer to you, right? Right? Yeah. Right? Ranging guard. You get them to stay at range. Right? Now we have the denial guard and the baiting guard, which are basically the same thing. We just changed the name of them so that you can understand the difference. A denial guard is where you're denying either anything from your weapon towards your body is the inside. Anything from your weapon away from your body is the outside. Often. Right? Any questions on that? Inside. Inside. Outside. Inside. Inside. Outside. Outside. Inside. Want to do it again? Repetition is key. Okay. Denial guard. You are denying either your outside. So if I am squared off with all of you and my hand is out here, I am denying my outside. This is already guarded. This is no man's lane. Nobody can go there because my sword is already in the way. I'm denying the outside lane. Right? Inside denial. I'm denying the inside lane. Nobody's going to swing here because my sword is already in the way. Right? Understand? Baiting guard. It's the same idea, but instead of being outside and inside, it's high and low. Here, I'm denying up, and I am baiting, inviting low. Right? This is a high baiting guard, a low baiting guard, which denies low and baits high. Okay? Right? Now with your guards, now, the further out you project your guard, the easier it is to defend against chops and slashes and stabs. All right, anything direct. Right? If I have my hand from your sword, if I have my hand in close to my body, right? In order for me to stop coming from here, to here, right? I have to go from basically here to here, right? Make sense?
Show them this way.
All right, so on this side, I've got to be about here, right? On this side, I got to be about here. Actually, I could have done this one weapon. I'll get your sword back. Right? Right? Now, if my guard is projected, I'm going to stab again. In order for me to stop this side, my hand has to be here. Right? And in order to stop this side, my hand is about 3 inches the other way, 2 inches the other way. Okay? See that? But what this does, right? My guard's projected, right? Now what this does though, because my hand is further forward, it makes me more susceptible to being wrapped. Right? My hand is closer in, it's much harder for him to wrap me. Right? Because of the range of it. Right? So you want some sort of a what?
In between.
In between. Find your happy place. Make sense? All right, any questions on the 4 guards? Open guards. Invite them. Look at all this nice ground in front of me. Come fight me. Open guard. Right? Ranging guard. Denial guard. Yeah. It depends. I just kind of get my weapon in their business. I'm usually always a little bit bent. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
What's an example of a counter you can do from low base? I don't see both bent. No, I go up. I'm ambi bent.
That's a good question for class. But yeah, I can talk about it. Meaning like why would you have your sword here?
Yeah. It's told I do this all the time, but I never see it.
Well, for instance, I do this an awful lot, so people will chop down at my arm, right? And I can be right in the way really easily. Easy.
Block and strike at the
Right?
same time.
Or for instance, if my hand is here and he throws down on it, you know, it's easy to move my guard into place. You know, and then I can, or if he throws down and I bring my hand up to here, it's an easy transition, right? The point is to give them an opening versus something that's already shut off. If I have something very neutral, a guard that's very neutral that he can go above or below it, I don't know what he's doing. I give him two options instead of one. Right? That's the point.
Can I see your inside denials while you're facing this way?
Can we repeat the question?
You want what is an inside denial facing this way? That's no make sense?
Yes.
Alright. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you for coming to SKBC. We're going to have a phenomenal weekend. All these instructors that you were introduced to, we are here for you. They are not paid, they're volunteers. Be kind to everybody, and they're here to be your resource. They've traveled from all over the country because they love to do this. We all want to show you how to do this as well, okay? So take advantage of every minute. Talk to them, they're all people. Alright? Take notes and have a great time. Thank you all for coming.